Today, we're going to be reviewing how to connect ideas in an informational text. This is important because it helps us communicate arguments, processes, or pieces of information. Let's look at a quick example. I recently read an article about how recess and sports make us do better in school subjects like math, reading, and science because they strengthen our brains. So if I were to come up to you and say, I love recess and playing sports, and doing well in school is important, I wouldn't really be communicating how these two are related, and I wouldn't be making a very strong argument or point about what I read. But if I were to say that my love of recess is actually helping me do well in school because scientists have found that physical activity makes our brains stronger, now I'm communicating that these ideas are connected, and my argument's a lot stronger. So let's practice doing this. We'll use a text about the Chicago River. This river is really neat because it runs right through downtown Chicago. People go boating in it, it gets lit up at night, and it even gets dyed green for St. Patrick's Day in March. Something rather strange happened to the river over 100 years ago. Usually, water in a river naturally flows in only one direction. Well, in 1900, people in Chicago actually reversed the flow of the water. We're about to read part of a text about this. In it, we're going to see two big ideas mentioned: pollution and the reversal of the river. We'll use our inference skills to explore the relationship between these two ideas. In particular, we'll aim to answer two questions. First, what caused the pollution in the Chicago River? And second, how is pollution related to the reversal of the Chicago River? We're going to use 3 steps to do this. First, we'll read the whole text. Then we'll focus in on parts of the text that relate to our 2 key questions. We'll use our background knowledge and evidence from the text to think through the connections between pollution and the river's reversal. Finally, we'll draw a conclusion about how these big ideas were connected. Let's read together. In 1900, Chicago's government did something very bold. They changed the direction of the Chicago River. Until 1900, the river flowed into the lake. Chicago started as a small town, but it grew to a great city. In 1890, there were 1 million people living here. By 1900, just 10 years later, there were 600,000 more people here. The river was polluted. Factories dumped trash into it, sewers drained into it. Because the river flowed into the lake, people were getting sick. The lake was getting polluted. People got their drinking water from it. Chicago has a history of bold planners. Chicago leaders made a plan. They would turn the river back. It would flow the other way. Then they would send the pollution away from the lake. It was a big job. They had to dig a canal to move the water the other way. Let's look at the first question. What caused the pollution in the Chicago River? I'm going to focus in on the part of the passage that mentions pollution, reread that section, and then combine my own prior knowledge with evidence from the text. I know that pollution is waste, usually caused by humans, that harms the environment. After reading the paragraph, I learned that Chicago grew a lot between 1800 and 1900. This large population began dumping its waste into the river. I can therefore infer that this growing population created more waste, which polluted the water. Let's take a look at the next question. How is this pollution related to the reversal of the river? Now I'll focus in on the section that mentions the reversal of the river and see if I get any clues. I already know, based on the last paragraph, that the Chicago River was getting more polluted, which was contaminating the water and making people sick. In this section, I learned that Chicago leaders decided to reverse the river so that pollution would flow away from their drinking water. My inference is that pollution was a major threat to the people of Chicago. Reversing the river lessened this threat and allowed the city to survive and probably grow even more. Now I know that a growing population caused pollution in the river. This pollution made people sick, so the people of Chicago banded together to reverse the flow of the river away from the source of their drinking water. Let's review the strategies I used to connect the 2 big ideas, pollution and the reversal of the river. First, I read the text. Then, I used my background knowledge and evidence from the text to infer how 2 big ideas, pollution and the reversal of the river, were connected. Finally, I drew conclusions about this relationship. These strategies will be helpful as you're connecting big ideas in texts that you read on your own.